Hi guys, Nagaraj here. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new for this channel, please do subscribe. In this video, we will discuss about the differences between the Xpath and CssSelector in Selenium WebDriver. As we discussed it, like Xpath and CssSelectors are one of the element locators of the Selenium WebDriver to identify the web element. Okay, both are used to identify the web element only. Then the thing is like which one you should select while identifying the element, whether you should go for Xpath or CssSelector. To understand it, you should understand what is Xpath and what is CssSelectors, what is the approach working with the CssSelector to identify the element, and also you should know that how the Xpath will be written while identifying the web element. At the end of this video, we will conclude like whether you should go for Xpath or CssSelector while identifying the web element. Okay, so this most of them are like usually for the fresher, those who are looking for Selenium WebDriver, they have this doubt like whether we should go for Xpath or CssSelector. We'll see one by one. The first point will be I have mentioned like regarding the performance, speed of the execution, though CssSelector will take the less time compared to the Xpath. So if you observe the after execution of Xpath or CssSelector, you may come across like very few millisecond difference may be there. You may think like okay, the millisecond it won't be matters, but when you are executing 500,000 test cases in the real-time project, so this count is impacting while execution performance. Finally, we can say that the CssSelector performance will be more compared to the Xpath. So the speed of the operation of CssSelector is more compared to the Xpath. The second point, the very important, it is like the element searching directions. So for example, I have mentioned here like the CssSelector only towards the forward directions on the HTML page, but in case of Xpath, element searching will happen. We can do for the both forward and reverse, means backward direction as well. For example, let me go back to the one web page. Just I have launched the Amazon.in page. Okay, here in the Amazon.in, we can see there is a sign in page. Okay, here either you can enter email or mobile number while logging to the Amazon.in page. Let me right click and inspect element so that we can see the developer window. Assume like I need to identify this one. Let me right click, inspect element. Okay. So let me click on Ctrl F so that I can able to find this window. This is the text box to enter the email ID or the phone number. So this is the input tag we can see here, right? I can see the input tag here. Let me go to the input. Let me identify this one. Let me read the Xpath first. It contains @ of ID is equal to single quote. So I need to take that ID. So what's the ID name here they have provided? It is a AP_email. This is the ID. So I can able to identify this. As I mentioned in the text here, like using the child element, you can't search the parent element in the CSS, but it is possible in Xpath. What is meaning here? So I have this is the parent. Okay, I have text box here. I need to identify this parent object by using this one, by using the text box. That is possible in case of Xpath. So assume it is a parent node. This is the input. On top of that, we can see there is this is a parent tag is available here. From the child to parent, I can navigate something like parent double quote div. Okay, it is navigated to the parent to the which one? Now it is navigated to parent to the child to parent. Now again I can come back to this text as well. So how we can come back? By /label. So as it is written here, label. So I can now it is highlighting only this label now. So what we did, we identify this parent as well as the sibling by using the child element. Okay, this is possible in case of the Xpath, but in case of CssSelector, this is not possible. The CssSelector only moves to the forward direction only, but we moved from the backward direction, from parent to child. But in case of CssSelector, we are moving only the div to label or input something. You can only forward direction only we can able to move. It is not possible to from the parent to child we can able to identify in case of CssSelector, but not possible to identify child to parent. That is not possible in case of CSS, but it is possible in Xpath. This is the most important differences between the CSS and Xpath when you are working with a project. These forward and backward direction movement, while identifying the one element with respect to the another element, these forward and reverse direction movement is more important over the HTML page. If you go for the CSS selector, right, that is not possible. That's what most of the developer of the those who are working with the Selenium, they always go for the Xpath. Very rare case the people used to go for the CSS selector. Those who are, the project is something like, if it is those who are working with the big project, that element, see, the element is not like straightforward element won't be available when you are working with the real time. Always you should go forward and reverse directions to identify the element. Suppose assume like we have one web table. There we have identifying one table element with respect to the the column header or the row header. So in that case, we need to go forward and reverse direction to identify that particular element. That's why the most of the developer or those who are working with the Selenium, they will go for the Xpath over the CSS selector. That is the things which I have highlighted here. So CSS can search element only in the forward direction in the HTML DOM hierarchy, but in Xpath, we can move both forward and backward directions. We can able to search the element. Finally, I have mentioned the example like in the from child, we can't able to identify the parent element in case of CSS selector, but it is possible in the Xpath. The next difference is, so compared to the simplicity, right, the CSS again takes the topmost position compared over the Xpath, because, so let me go back. See, this is the identifying the element. Suppose we have on submit button, there we have ID called submit attribute they have written. In that case, button. So how to write the Xpath expression here? /button. Inside the parameter, in parenthesis, we need to write @ID equals submit. But the same expression we can also write in CSS only by using the, even though these two expression identifying the same element, but the expression, the length of the expression is very short compared in CSS compared to the Xpath. So let me show you in one of the examples. Okay, let me take the same example only. Okay, let me identify this text box. Yeah, we have identified this text box, correct, by writing this many big expression, but it is in terms of Xpath. But how to write in the CSS selector? CSS selector is very simple. Just we need to go to input, and instead of ID, we have provided, we can write solid hash in short. Okay, it is identify the element. So very simple way we can able to write the expression to identify the element. This is for Xpath we have written. It is identifying the same element, right? So again we have written the CSS selector to identify the same element with the very few codes or few expressions we have written. So we can see, while compared to the simplicity, we can say that the CSS is very simple to write and compared to the Xpath. If you go to the next one, in Xpath we can write text function to identify the free text or visible text available in the web page, but it is not possible in the CSS selector. For example, so let me go to any free text here. So these are free text only. Let me go to the any one of the free text. So let me identify this new to Amazon. Let me inspect this element. Let me copy this text. This is the free text, guys. Okay, this is the free text which are written inside the tag. H5 is started here, H5 ending in between some text is available, that is free text. Or we can say it is a free text available or visible text available on the web page that we can able to identify by using the text function. So for example, let me write, so this is under H5 /H5. Let me go to this one. So I can write text method I can use here equal to the text, I will paste it over here. So it is identify this element. See, H5 identify this element by using the text method available in the Xpath. But this kind of visible text is not able to identify by using the CSS selector. This is also one of the drawbacks of the CSS selector. And finally, in Xpath we can say that there are two types of Xpath is available, like absolute Xpath or relative Xpath. Absolute Xpath in the sense we are going to find the element by using the one big hierarchy, like from the HTML to till the element we are going from one by one element. So that is absolute Xpath. Relative Xpath means we are skipping sum of the tag in between. Finally, we are, by writing the expression, you are navigating to the particular element. That is, there are two types of XPath, XPath absolute and relative. Usually you'll go for relative XPath in while working with the script. In case of CSS selector, we don't have such type of expressions. Okay, these are the differences between the CSS selector and XPath. We can recall once again, like the performance is concerned, CSS selector takes the major role over the XPath, as the performance is high compared to the XPath. So in terms of element searching direction, so as the XPath they moves the unidirectional, like if we can identify the element by navigating to the forward direction or reverse direction. But in case of CSS, we can search the element only towards the forward direction. So that's why over the HTML domain hierarchy, in that case we can say that there is a flexibility in XPath expression. Simplicity, yeah, very simple expression we can write in CSS selector over the XPath, and visible text we can also identify in XPath, but in case of CSS selector it is not possible. And there are different types of XPath, absolute and relative XPath available, but in case of CSS we don't have such type of expressions are not available. The final conclusion is like, see, most of the time it will be happen like we need to identify the element by taking the reference of the another variable or another element. So in that case we need to go for forward or reverse direction. It is mandatory we need to navigate on the HTML DOM page. In that case, definitely we should go for the XPath, as it is not possible in case of a CSS selector. I didn't explain more in deep about how to write the XPath and CSS selector, because already XPath I have already explained in previous videos. CSS selector, yeah, definitely I will make another video for particularly for CSS selector. There we can discuss more on CSS, because I don't want to drag this video too much. In this video, that's all guys for this video. If you like this video, please hit like button. Please subscribe this channel for further useful videos and share with your friends, those who are looking for the Selenium concept. Thank you.